r/2XChromosomes. Sunflower Child 72 says, what is the average sex life really like? Hi all, I 22 female, am married to my husband 25 male. We both come from relatively religious upbringings, but I would definitely say I was more sheltered. He was my first for a lot of things sexually, but I was not his. We've been married about a year and a half now, and I've noticed some patterns in our sex life. I can't tell if they're just problems in our sex life or something everyone goes through, and I was wondering if you guys could weigh in. It's starting to take a toll on me mentally, sometimes to the point where I have resent built up towards him because of it, and I start getting cranky and irritated for no reason. I know I need to talk to him about it, but I'm not sure how. 1. He never asks/initiates for sex. I think in the total 4 years we've been together, the only time he would initiate any sort of physical intimacy was back when we were dating. Now that we're married, it's always me who initiates any sort of intimacy. Whether it's just a simple kiss on the cheek or actual sex, he never starts anything. I've tried bringing it up, and he just says it never crosses his mind to be physical, and that when it does I'm usually not available or around, so he just suppresses the urge and forgets about it. 2. He sometimes can't get hard. I want to say about 40% of the time we have sex, he doesn't get hard. It really crushes my self-esteem a bit when I go to reach for him, all hot and bothered, and has just soft. It makes me feel like maybe I'm not good enough or hot enough to get him to that point. And then if I try to talk to him about it, he just gets really defensive and shuts me out. 3. He's super sensitive to any change in the bedroom. If the room is colder than usual or hotter than usual, he can't have sex. He doesn't like to change position or the routine we have, or even let me be on top. He always says that it's because why would he try something new when this position works? I've explained that sometimes I need variety and has tried for my sake, but when we do I end up getting really self-conscious and worrying about whether he's enjoying it, and then it usually just fizzles out. I know there's some common culprits people will say, like has watching porn, has having an affair, but I know it's not those things either. He's in medical school and we live with his parents, not to mention any opportunity he gets he just comes home and sleeps. His computer is in our living room, next to mine, and he doesn't have any social media. He's a wonderful man and the person I love, but our sex life is driving me crazy, and in not a good way. Lol edit. A lot of people are commenting/saying the same thing, so I'll add some more context. We dated for 2 years before we got married, and we've been married for 2 years. It was our decision to do so. There really was no pressure or force in it. I've only noticed these issues since we got married. They weren't there while we were dating. I mention religious upbringing, yes, a little bit for maybe the shame aspect, but in regards to currently neither of us are very religious in the nicest way possible. Has not gay. I think asexual would describe him a lot better, but has not gay. He is neurodivergent/ and I suspect maybe on the spectrum. I'm not too sure, nor do I have diagnosing capabilities. Yes, we live with his parents, but their house is a mansion and we have the entire basement to ourselves. We have our own front door, kitchen, living room and garage. It's more like a mini apartment than sharing an actual home with them. I have tried talking to him, but he just never wants to talk about it. He's like this with all forms of communicating. I really have to wrangle stuff out of him, but the sex stuff just really makes him cringe. Says, likely he's stressed. It could possibly be that he's a low libido person and you're higher libido than him. Men aren't just sex machines, despite the Andrew Tates of the world alleging they are. Their sex drive can be impacted by stresses and self-esteem and other things just like women. Yes, men tend to be higher libido than women on average, but averages don't account for everything. It's important to discuss these things candidly and be empathetic. Perhaps it's just temporary because of his classes. Astemius says, this very much. I mean the stress especially. people asking to check the doctor, or whatever might make the problem worse. I'm a guy, and, for my first time, my then GF pressured me into having sex. I was so stressed I couldn't get hard at all. The next 3 or 4 times same thing. High pressure. Couldn't do get hard. After some point, I finally managed to relax myself. I was half asleep, so less aware of anything, and things worked normally from this point on. But even today, 15 years after, if I start to get self-aware about having to perform, you can be sure that nothing's gonna work. Too long. Didn't read. Maybe don't make him conscious about his problem, and do something that could make him more relaxed. That will make him live the moment and focus on the pleasure he's giving/receiving. As for the others' issues, I think communication is key. Also, living with the parents and his studies might complicate things. But if he's not willing to listen, that will be hard for you to make him change. Underwater Parlor Club says, stress is almost always the #1 cause, but I can also guess #2 to 5 from Ops post, and surprisingly cheating and or porn are not included for once. I'd say it's probably 1. The cumulative stress from everything below, but especially from not being able to perform, Ops disappointment, not feeling like a man. 2. Lower libido. 3. Religious upbringing, shame, lack of information and knowledge. 4. Living with his parents. 5. Med school op. I get how that makes you feel, and it's completely valid. The only real advice here is to communicate this to him. Without blaming him, just share how it makes you feel. Edit. I've been through this with my partner, and although our situations are quite different, it definitely built up a lot of resentment from my side. I enjoy sex in general and sex with my partner, but I think the lack of intimacy and connection is what bothered me the most. But at the same time, my libido was at an all-time low, so I needed him to want to have sex with me, while having almost no interest in actually having sex. And I kept asking myself the same question, is this normal? How often do other people have sex, etc.? What I've learned is that there is no average or normal when it comes to this. If you believe Reddit, some people have sex 1 to 3 times a day, while other couples are okay with once every couple of months or years. What matters is, can you guys find a balance that works for both? Rope_is_love says, med school is hell. Must be insanely stressed. r/2XChromosomes. Limit2688 says, feeling lonely and need friends. So I, F35, went through my texts recently and realized that all of my friends have not texted or called me, but I reach out to them often. Unfortunately, I have been going through some hard things, and well, turns out I don't have many who care enough to check up and say hi. I text all of the people I consider to be good friends. Some were best friends in high school, back in July. Not a single one has reached out since. I feel like I have to chase my friends to have an actual relationship. I'm so tired of it and so sad. Does anyone else feel like their friends only talk to them if they need something? Why is it so hard to find friends who care? Bowling says, definitely been there, done that. My wife left after 21 years about 3 months ago, and any friend I try to talk to immediately flips it to something they are going through. It's really not worth even dealing with them, because 9/10 I end up comforting them for what they are going through, and I'm left exactly where I was to begin with. Finally, what it's worth. I'm sure you'll get a ton of offers, but I'll put mine out there too. Urza88 says, I feel yeah. I was always the one to chase my friends too, but they never reached out to me. So I said, frick it, and just stopped messaging them too. I figured communication works both ways, and if I'm not important enough in their lives to check in on me, then they aren't worth my time either. I'm sorry that I can't be of any help, as I'm terribly shy and introverted, so it's difficult for me to make friends and meet new people. But just know you're not alone in feeling this way. Abitofinite says, does anyone else feel like their friends only talk to them if they need something? Yes, and I'm okay with that because that's what friends are for. I totally know how you're feeling. My advice is to tell them you need something. Then depending on how they react you can decide if that's a friend to you. At this point you haven't said anything to them. Correct me if I've misread your post. Anyway, that's what I'd do, because sometimes you have to remember people are also living their own lives. A friend can call me up I haven't spoken to in years and she's crying or some shit. My bags are packed and I'm on the next plane. There's no need to count tit for tat the number of text messages you sent and tally things like that. Not with a close friend. Why is it's so hard to find friends who care? It's so hard, especially the older you get. And if you're not living where you grew up, forget it. I feel you there. I feel like usually people already have their friend circles, and unlike in college, where it was always the more the merrier type of attitude, in my later years I find people choose smaller groups and don't all hang out together like they used to. Being let into an already established friend group as an adult is surprisingly even harder than it was in high school. It could be just a sign of the times. It could be my age. Probably both. I hope you feel better soon, Opus. Please try not to take what others do personally. If they're your friends, you should reach out to them when you're struggling. Sending you love. It's Pijania says. Damn, that sucks. I've been there too, feeling like my friends only hit me up when they need something. It's hard to find real ones these days. Maybe try joining a club or group with similar interests. That's how I met some of my closest buds. Hang in there. Larxacelisis says, maintaining relationships takes a lot of work, even non-romantic ones. Distance makes things much harder. It's not personal when you drop off people's day-to-day thoughts. It is just the insane amount of time and effort that life takes these days shoving friendships to the back burner. Though knowing it isn't personal doesn't make the crushing loneliness any easier to bear. At least in my experience, it just becomes something you mitigate. I wish you luck. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.